Welcome to Wordpath, the show about Oklahoma Indian languages and the people who are teaching and preserving them. Every year in October, the Oklahoma Native Language Association and Northeastern State University sponsor a Native Language Conference in Preston, Oklahoma. This show is the second one to show excerpts of this year's conference. It features Dr. Ofelia Zepeda, a Tohono O'Odham poet and scholar. The Tohono O'Odham, or desert people, formerly known as Papago, live in Arizona near the Akimur O'Odham, or river people, formerly called Pima. Ofelia teaches linguistics and the O'odham language at the University of Arizona and writes poetry in O'odham and English. Now, this show is somewhat exceptional for Wordpath because O'odham is not an Oklahoma language, but Ofelia is such a fine speaker and poet that I thought Oklahomans would enjoy seeing and hearing her. And I hope her work will inspire some of you to try poetry in your native language. As you listen, if you speak an Oklahoma language, think of what you would write about and what parts of your life in Oklahoma you would choose to include in your poetry.
I've been writing only as an adult. I didn't start very early, and I've only published in the last, I think my first book was in 1995, and then the next one was in 97. So I haven't been publishing for that long. I've been writing in O'odham for a long time, actually, my first language. And the reason I was writing in O'odham is for my students. And that's because, like many of you know who are language teachers, we don't have that much literature, contemporary literature in the language. So my students were writing, or the assignments for my students was to create contemporary literature, and the form we chose was poetry. And so when they would write, I would write with them. And we did actually get published back in 1980, 81 or so. My students and I had a little book published called When It Rains, bilingual poems in O'odham, Pima, and English. So that was a first, really, and I feel sort of alas in a way, because it didn't happen again for a long, long time until when I published in 1997 a bilingual collection. So right now I do write in both languages, and it's never really clear as to when I'm going to write in English or when I'm going to write in O'odham. It's one of those magical things of creativity, I guess, how those decisions come about. So I'd like to share both types with you this afternoon, so you kind of get a sense of what I write about. And so yesterday, as we were talking about what was published in your language, one thing I like to encourage, especially people who are speakers, and then those of you who are literate, to consider the possibility of writing contemporary pieces in your first language, because it's a very rare thing, and oftentimes that kind of writing will contribute to your language activity. But otherwise, I think it just contributes to the overall sort of body of literature for humanity. So we certainly should be players whenever possible. So anyway, like I said, I always like to encourage people to think about that. Anyway, the first piece I want to read for you is something that I think many of you will find something that will strike a chord in one way or another. It is sort of a broad piece, but yet also very specific to where I come from, which is, of course, the Tohono, or the desert. And it also says something about how we behave down there, especially in the summertime. Summertime is the most important period for us, because that's when a lot of the ritual takes place, and also that's when we get our rainy season. And the rainy season is important for the desert and the lifestyle that people have down there. So, but anyway, like I said, there's some other sort of generic things that you may identify with. And the title of the piece is called O'odham Dances, and from a little book called Ocean Power. Skip I met a he got them or he got the mass more hammy up a get you. After get you going to God with the bokai. Oigo, tao masi. Oigo, morscavi is a guinea. Oigo, a tao a tishak dash. Oigo, morscavi is a stuho. Oigo. It is time for the ritual to dance, to sing, so that rain may come, so that the earth may be fixed one more time. Throughout the night, a night too short for such important work, the people converge energies. They call upon the night, they call upon the stars in the darkness, they call upon the hot breezes, they call upon the heat coming off the earth. They implore all animals, the ones that fly in the sky, the ones that crawl upon the earth, the ones that walk, the ones that swim in the water, the ones that move in between water, sky, and earth. They implore them to focus on the moisture. All are dependent. From the dark dryness of the desert on that one night, the call of the people is heard. It is heard by the oceans, winds, and clouds. All respond sympathetically. Throughout the night, you hear the one who is assigned yelling, Oigo, before it becomes light. Oigo, there are still songs to be sung. Oigo, before the sun comes up. Oigo, there is still a little bit of night left. With the dawn, we face the sunrise. We face it with all our humility. We are mere beings. All we can do is extend our hands towards the first light. In our hands, we capture the first light. We take it and cleanse ourselves. We touch our eyes with it. We touch our face with it. We touch our hair with it. We touch our limbs. We rub our hands together. We want to keep this light with us. We are complete with this light. This is the way we begin and end things. And I always like to admit openly that I do, say something within a lot of my writing about, some of the things that we do and the way that we believe. However, it's just on the very surface that I can talk about these things. It does not get detailed at all. And in that regard, to me, it's a comfortable way to write, and for the rest of the tribal people, at least mine, it's a safe way to write. So I've, sort of walked that kind of boundary sometimes. People have been talking about what is accessible, should be accessible to outsiders, and so forth, and what shouldn't be. One thing I noticed that I tend to do is write about family members, people that have meant a lot to me, and then people that I've met just briefly too. When they make an impression upon me, they sometimes end up in some of my pieces. And I know the other thing that happens, and it happens as I mentioned yesterday, as speakers, there are things that your brain sort of stores and keeps and holds on to, and you don't really bring it up until somebody kind of jogs that memory. And so the language starts to flow that you hadn't used in a long time. It happens to you with writing. You can write about something that you hadn't thought about, or that you heard perhaps 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I noticed that I was doing that when I started writing when I was in my mid-30s. And I was remembering things that I heard or did when I was just a child. And so I sort of, like I said, stored it somehow over the years, and then pulled them up. So this one is a little bit like that. And it's about my family and the way we grew up. We grew up in these cotton farming communities there in southern Arizona. And that's what my parents did. They picked cotton in the winter about now, before they had machinery, and they also worked cotton fields during the summertime. And so when we were little, and we were old enough to work, we had to do that. We had to all go out there. I had 7 brothers and sisters, and so that's sort of the way we live. So we were outdoor people, outside a lot because of the way we lived and the way we worked. And so I'm always reminded when it starts to get a little cool in Arizona, where in Arizona it doesn't get cool until about December. Then it gets really cold in January for about 1 week, and then it's summertime. So the week of winter is like, it affects you in certain ways. You remember it. So this must have been like a bunch of series of winters, because I remembered it very well. And I just called it Lard for Moisturizer. This one too has a lot of stuff in it that a lot of Indian people identify with, because when I meet Indian people, they always kind of giggle about it, because they have similar experiences, either their own or their parents, grandparents. And I've heard different stories, whether it's lard, the kind you buy in the store, or the old, where people used to slaughter animals or hunt, like bear grease and stuff like that, that they keep in the house, or bacon grease. So anyway, it has a little reference to that. So it's just called Lard for Moisturizer. And perhaps some of you still practice this. Anyway. I turned the vertical blinds, attempting to capture the southern light. The sun is now at the south corner. The December wind is cold, magnifying the weakness of the sun's light. The light is difficult to contrast to the searing heat of just 3 months ago. I think of that heat now, but I can't really remember it. I welcome the gentle warmth of the winter sun. With the sunlight, I think of home and the activity that moves to the east side of the house to catch the weak winter morning sun. My father sits on that side doing small repairs. My mother and her laundry tubs move to that side also. Bent over her wash tubs of clothes, her back to the sun, arms moving back and forth, washing, pulling on the rays of the sun. My sisters and I hang out clothes, being grateful only that it isn't raining. Sun and winter winds dry the clothes quickly. The only casualty of this work is our hands. Hot water, cold water rinse, cold wind, and mild dry sun. As outdoor people, our parents found small relief in lotions and moisturizers for the skin. Our family kept the Jergens lotion people in business, we used to say. Early in December, moisturizing lotions were fine. But by January and February, we were ready for the hard stuff, petroleum jelly. Our parents went to bed each night with a slight sheen of grease on their hands and face. We did the same. A minor epidermal comfort. My sisters and I laughed about one aunt who doesn't even bother with moisturizing lotions or even petroleum jelly. She goes straight for lard. We've seen her do this. When she makes her tortilla dough, with the last step, she greases each ball of dough. As she finishes, any lard left over, she simply rubs into her hands as if she would lotion. My sister mimics her and exaggerates the description, showing us how she rubs the lard on her face and arms, and then she lifts her skirt and rubs a healthy handful on her brown chapped knees. The title of the book is Jiwat Ikoy. Jiwat, there's our group poem on the table from yesterday. If you looked at it, we had that, recreating worlds, and world for us is Jiwat. It also means land, it also means dirt. So, just based on the context. So anyway, Jiwat is earth. Ihoy means to move. But it means to move in a certain way. Like, for instance, when you're sleeping and you move unconsciously, it's that kind of movement. It's not conscious movement. Ihoy. Jiwat Ihoy. And anyway, so I'd like to share this piece with you. This is sort of one of those mythical things, so we have that liberty. You can be mythic as you want. Jiwadi hoy, kusasju ag matabokjui, anyaftat kagjiwad mati hoy. Na pishay taht ahpi, pia. Ja, cosas job good comes to the bag and what the high George quite high. And I have a bag with secret on with it. Magmerica and a bag rotation. Yeah, good comes to the bag and I'll get that. Good comes to the early one, get to it to that and down got chip white. Just to do it at maximum atomic chicks, married to come cow yard, just and the mother chicken watch surely when I meet the two or money the fools or school up a mat. Okay, the woman with you, boy, man, come, chicken, chicken, one to be put for Sierra Tag, your amchu, the moho, the Hutinic Tag. Yeah, but I can measure much at the God, I must see it, I'm at the Machanobi. Riding the earth. She said she felt the earth move again. I never knew whether she meant she felt a tremor or whether it was the rotation of the earth. I like to think she felt a rotation because anyone can feel a tremor. And when she felt this, she could see herself standing on the earth's surface, her thick, wide feet solidly planted, toes digging in. Her visualization so strong, she almost feels her body arched against the centrifugal force of the rotation. She sees herself with her long hair floating in the atmosphere of stardust. She rides her planet the way a child rides a toy. Her company is the boy who takes the sun on its daily journey, and the man in the moon smiles as she passes by. So, you know, you kind of think about, you know, the way the English sounds is that's the part, of course, that you all, you know, understand. And then sort of imagine how comparable the O'Odham must be, or maybe it isn't. But you'll never know. You know? I'm not going to tell you. Then we have to get into linguistics, and all I heard this morning was, we don't want to do grammar. But yeah, it has something to do with how O'Odham works and how English works. The two are totally different languages. So you can't expect to represent, you know, directly from one language to the other. And as teachers, you know, if you're comfortable in English, you're comfortable in your first language, there's ways to work it out. And those of you who are in that situation know exactly what I mean. Gosh, it's several years ago now, almost 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago, I think. Something odd happened to me. I lost my hearing in one ear, in my right ear, and it was sort of a shock. And they, you know, doctors didn't know why it happened, and they just called it sudden hearing loss. So I'm basically deaf on this side, and hearing aids, it's to the degree that it doesn't make any difference, you know. So I don't use an aid. So I've learned to adjust. So if if you were talking to me at some point and I didn't hear you, I could tell because I didn't hear you. You know, so I usually warn people if they're sitting on this side of me and they want to talk to me that they have to like slug me or something. So I'll pay attention. But otherwise, I try and situate myself so that I have a good reception. Especially in large groups. Anyway, so that hearing loss, I later found out. I went home and after all the doctors, and I went home and I told my oldest sister and my father, and they said, you know, your mother was like that. And I never knew she had no hearing in her right ear also. And then a few weeks after that happened, then I had something wrong, with my face, and I thought it was a minor stroke, but it wasn't. And it was related to the hearing loss. And so I go home and the doctors didn't have a clue. They ran all these tests and nothing. And so I run home and tell my oldest sister and my father. They said, you know, your mother was like that. That happened to your mother too. So that's when you're a kid, you don't notice those things about your mother or your parents, And so as an adult, I found out these things about my mom. And so I inherited whatever it was that she had with this hearing and this problem with this side of the face. So it's only, really noticeable when I get tired and my face starts to sort of relax too much on this side. But anyway, so I had that happen to me. And then all of a sudden I started developing some stiffness here and there, and then I got, diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Your mother had that. Well, we knew she had it all along, but she died at a young age, so she suffered too much with that. But anyway, so now I have it, but I'm one of these people who I appreciate modern science, and I will take whatever medication they tell me to take. So, I won't overdo it, but I think aspirin and ibuprofen are miracle drugs myself. So anyway, so all that stuff, it's kind of that baggage you have, and like I said, you don't know you're carrying it until at different parts of your life. So I was thinking about that this summer, mainly because I was having a lot of problems with my joints. I don't know why, but I was. And so I started thinking about my mom and myself. Of all her children, I'm the only one that's been, diagnosed with this so far. So I wrote this piece about her and probably about myself as well, certainly about myself as well, because it makes references to the place where I work, at the university, and you're watching all these young people, and they're sort of really clueless as to what is manifesting itself in them until they get, because they're all in their 20s, and it's just so carefree, and I look at them and I wonder, sort of what's in store for them. And what's interesting now, with all this genetic information that we have, that it's possible for them to know earlier, then sometimes maybe you don't want to know, what's in store for you. But anyway, so there's a reference in here to the university kids and, the way that they are slightly. There's also a reference in here regarding, again, the O'odham traditional dancing. O'odham traditional dancing, if you ever get a chance to see it, our stuff is so private, it's so low-key, even if it was happening in front of your face, you wouldn't know it, It's so quiet. The songs are so quiet, our drums are overturned woven baskets, so they're kind of muffled, and it's just quiet, so they sit on the ground and they sing on the ground, and you have to sit down there if you're going to hear them. And our dancing is very low-key, there's nothing colorful, there's no high, movement, it's just like I said, very sort of mellow. It's probably the best word, which is a good thing if you're arthritic, because you can still do that. It doesn't require any, extreme physical movement. Anyway, so there's a reference to that as well. And then some things, for those of you that travel a lot in airports and things like that, you might recognize some of the And I don't have a title for this thing yet, so those early morning sounds are so clear, so familiar in my memory. The sound of boiling coffee, the sound of shuffling feet, a step, a shuffle. She didn't lift her feet when she walked. She shuffled to her own rhythm. Old wooden floors worn thin by her shuffling, plus 8 children in the household. My mother was short in stature, low to the ground. She had joints that began to lose moisture and flexibility when she first began to walk. She didn't lift her feet when she walked. She was in constant contact with the earth. With each shuffle across the surface, she pushed the earth along. With each step, she dragged time with her. She shuffled bits of her past and her future in uncertain amounts, in uncertain directions. Oigamsi, sika olkuihi, at toihudunik chuag, at toiwai gajuk. Oigamsi, uika ukohim chigajuat, at toihudunik chuag. Come on, step lively, we will pull the clouds down, we will pull the clouds down. We will call the rain, we will call the rain. Make the dust rise, we will pull down the clouds. In awe, I watch young men bound, sometimes 2, 3 steps at a time, and young girls as they walk, practically floating effortlessly across minor obstacles, curves, uneven sidewalks, rough asphalt. On the other hand, I am a profiler. I don't search for racial profiles though. Instead, I survey with a biased eye for the uneven terrain that lays before me in my journey. I take note of any minor changes in the landscape. I take special note of stairs, steps, deep curves, grading. I take notes of minor ones, the breaks and seams of sidewalks, the roughness of asphalt. I consciously lift my foot with every step. I am a poster child for the strategically placed warning signs for pedestrians. Hold on to handrails. Watch your step. Caution. Moving walkway will end. Please be prepared to step off. Keep shoelaces and other straps away from moving parts. Open-toed shoes not allowed. Please keep walkway clear. With each shuffle, she pushed the earth along. With each step, she pushed time along. She shuffled bits of her past and her future in uncertain amounts, in uncertain directions. So.
Thank you, Ofelia, for sharing your poetry and your life with the Wordpath audience. Poetry is a wonderful way to bundle together your culture, your life, and your language. And such a treat for the non-poets among us to listen to it. If you've written poetry in an Oklahoma Indian language and are willing to share it, please call the Wordpath Society and let us tape you for a future show. By the way, Wordpath needs some new crew members. If you're a Norman resident and 18 years or older and would like to join us, please call the studio at 600-6941 to reserve a space in the next training class. See you next time on Wordpath.
Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita.